there's a really important word that I use to describe what you were just talking about. And I actually think this is one of the underappreciated superpowers of video compared to other forms of communication. And basically what you were describing there was the power of familiarity, right? Chris has become familiar to you, right? And if you think about in any relationship building exercise, any audience building exercise, any communication exercise, the more familiar somebody becomes to you, the more relevant they become, the more trustworthy they become, the more you seek out their input and feedback and so on. And so familiarity is actually a really powerful concept, I think, in the world of sales and marketing, right? Like brand marketers, right? Like that's what they do. We want our brand to be consistently familiar in your mind, right? That we're top of mind as a result. And I think that, this sort of consistent use of video as a salesperson can really unlock that in many ways and can give that sense. Now, again, if you're doing Zoom calls with your prospect once a week for 2 months, you're good, right? Like you've got a huge level of familiarity. And I would only use videos when you're like, look, I have to communicate this. Can't come through in an email. It's not worth setting up a Zoom call. So I'm going to record a quick screen share where I'm going to show them how to do this and I'm going to send it over, right? Like that's sort of like those moments. But otherwise, if you're not consistently able to get on live calls, using these short videos as a way to intentionally create consistent familiarity with your audience can have a really meaningful impact. And it's also a way to build familiarity with any other potential stakeholders who may not ever join one of these live calls, who may not ever talk to you, right? But by nature of you sharing these updates where you're on camera, you don't have to be full screen, right? Like that's one of the other tips, Kaylee, you mentioned earlier for people who like don't feel super comfortable on camera. Do a screen recording with your camera, the little bubble in the corner, right? So those who don't use Vidyard or Loom, when you record, you can record your screen along with your camera in the corner. And in that case, you no longer feel like you're the center of attention, right? And you can use the visuals on your screen to help clarify an idea, share some information. And so when you do that and you say, hey, even after a meeting, right, like a follow-up, just recording a quick video, maybe with a screen with like a slide up with 4 bullet points where you summarize the key takeaways. And you just go, hey, super great to chat. I wanted to quickly highlight some of the key points and, talk about that one big next step. And that's something you send around to everybody who was invited to the meeting, right? And like 3 of those people didn't show up, right? All of those people that do click play get a chance to see you, to get to hear you, to get to know you, to become familiar with you. And that doesn't happen when you just send over the email with some bullet points. So you may often say, like, is it worth the extra effort? And I can't quantify the impact of familiarity. I can't quantify the impact of more clearly articulating an idea. But if you get to the point where recording that video is no more effort than writing that email, that's when the unlock happens.